Okay, so full disclosure, the intention was I was going to try to do a Final Destination tier list and actually tier every single death in the series, including the premonitions. But I wasn't able to do that because the microphone wasn't working, equipment being a little jank. Well, like a Final Destination movie. So instead, I'm just going to sit and kind of give my thoughts on the series as a whole, my thoughts on each individual film. I don't know if I'm going to do every death. We'll kind of go as we go when it comes to that. So the series as a whole, I had said in my Bloodlines video that my first exposure was when I was around 8 years old. It was at a friend's sleepover. It was one of his favorite movies. It's still one of his favorite movies, specifically the first movie. And I say exposed because I didn't really watch it. Like, I watched part of it, and then we got to the first death. I was kind of told to close my eyes. I was a very scared little kid, so I didn't really see it happen, and I was told it was going to be scary, so I didn't really watch the rest, and I fell asleep, and blah, 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 blah. But just the idea of the movie about when it's your time, and there's nothing you can do about it, and anything could kill you. You could trip in the shower and the clothesline could go around your neck and you get suffocated, or a bus can come out of nowhere and hit you, or all the other bullshit that happens in the first movie is something that really scared the shit out of me as a kid and made me aware and afraid of death for the first time in my life. And I've always had this love-hate relationship with the series ever since. I hate it because it would freak me out, and if I thought about it too much, I would start getting afraid of everyday objects, or I hear random creaking, or a door just kind of happens to close, and oh shit, I'm now about to die, blah, blah, blah. But I thought it was kind of neat, and kind of cool, and interesting. I played a lot of Mousetrap as a kid, and half the time the shit in Mousetrap doesn't work. But a lot of Final Destination deaths feel like some Mousetrap bullshit. And I kind of love it. I've always, the concept is cool. I like the creativity of what actually happens, but I didn't want to watch them. And then I would watch them, but I'd see them on TV. So it was heavily censored so I could enjoy it without getting freaked out. But it means I'm not getting the full experience. But now, I have seen... Oh, sorry, I moved and the sound kind of freaked out my cat. You're alright, bud. I have since seen all 6 films uncensored, because, 6 I watched in theaters, and Bloodlines. I'll probably just keep calling it 6. And same for The Final Destination, I'm just going to call it 4. But I watched 1 through 5 on HBO Max. 1 and 2 I didn't have this problem with, but 3, 4, and 5, something with the aspect ratio was off. And there were points where I was oh, I'm not seeing everything that's supposed to be on screen. I really noticed it in 3 with Ian's death. Because oh, we actually didn't see the part where he dies and he flips off Wendy. It was just cut. That's weird and shitty, and I don't like that. So, unfortunately, 3, 4, and 5 were still kind of censored, but I still saw all the blood when it was available to see on the screen and all of that. So as much as I could, I've seen the films as they were meant to. I enjoyed 5 of them. Yeah, I didn't like 4. I was hoping, because I heard 4 was bad. I'll get more into it a little bit later. I was hoping it would at least be so bad it's good, or it's just really entertaining with how Looney Tunes it is, but I don't know, I felt like death was phoning in most of the movie. It's okay, this one's kind of good, and this one is this close to being an all-time Final Destination death, but death, man, what are you doing? But the other 5 movies, for different reasons at different degrees, I enjoy. And I feel like it is worth saying, it's not 4 is terrible, 2 and 3 suck, but I kind of like them, but blah, blah, blah. No, I like the other 5 movies. I can make arguments for maybe why they're my favorites, which is something I really enjoyed about the series. Is I feel with the exception of 4, every movie has something that really makes it worth watching. And I respect the hell out of that. I had a really good time with it. It also helped that, 6 I saw with a couple friends. I tried to get a lot of people to come. It was look, I have a weird history with these movies. I don't want to watch them by myself. I'll be completely dead ass about that. But on top of that, given the nature of the films, especially some of the later ones, I feel like it's best watched in a group so you could just get all the fun reactions. And I wish I saw it, with either more of my friends or with a more active theater. Because it was like a Sunday matinee, there were a few people, like there were some reactions, but with some of the shit that happens in Bloodlines, I was really hoping that other people were going to be reacting along with me, and it just didn't happen. But 1 through 5, I watched with either Clay or Jose or both, just kind of depending on the film. They were like floating around. The only one I didn't was 4, and I think that's also part of why I didn't like 4 as much. Like, I just watched it by myself. And it's the worst movie anyways, but I didn't even have anyone to like work off of it with or enjoy it with, and I just did not like 4. But as a whole, I enjoyed the films a lot. I can't wait for 7. I think one thing I heard is they said like it takes a while for a Final Destination movie to come out because they really want to be creative with it. With like, what do we want to do? What are our set pieces? Oh, there's Bahamut. You might see him here in a sec. Bahamut, you want to come sit on my lap while I record? Yeah, the sweet boy. You want to talk about Death's design, bub? But I think they've said like it takes a while, and it's like, what, 11 years in between 5 and 6? With how well Bloodlines is done, I think the last time I checked, so it was like a 90-something% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 7 point something on IMDb. I think it made like 200 million in theaters. It might be more at this point. There's gonna be a 7. It'll probably be sooner than 11 years. I would say probably within the next maybe 4 or 5 we could expect it. I'm very much excited to see it. I did not see Bloodlines in IMAX. Now that I've seen one in theaters and I'm caught up on the series, and I can officially say, despite my weirdness with the series, I am a Final Destination fan. If 7 is in IMAX, I gotta go see it. And I think I'm gonna be able to convince more people to see it with me, which will make it an even better time. Now, staying on the series as a whole, what to me makes a good Final Destination death? Is it something with a lot of setup, like as people call them, like the Rube Goldberg style deaths, the Mousetrap style deaths? Do I like the goofy Looney Tunes shit? Do I like it when it's a lot more grounded and realistic? Do I like them gory or non-gory? To give a lawyerly answer, it depends. Some I like, some I don't like. To me, I remember having a conversation with Clay several years ago, and I think he described horror as a genre is very similar to comedy, because horror is all about, build up and payoff. It is about having that tension and then a release, like with a scare, or maybe sometimes it's with like a fake out, all the different kind of ways that can go, which is very similar to comedy, where you have your build up and then you have your punchline. And I don't use that to be like, yeah, everything in Final Destination is goofy, although very often they can be. But I think the best I think the way I want to say it is Final Destination deaths are a lot like jokes. Some of the jokes have very elaborate setups, which lead to a punchline, and sometimes that punchline is good, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just a really quick, snappy punchline without a lot of setup, and sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't. And sometimes it's the misdirection of the setup that really makes or doesn't make the punchline. So I think that's the best way I can say it, is it always comes down to the payoff. It comes down to the release. Is it satisfying based on the setup? And it's like, does the setup, satisfactorily lead to this payoff? I guess that's the best way I can phrase it. Overall, I very much enjoy the deaths, which out of context was like a really fucked up thing to say. But also, like, it's a horror series, and it's one that's known for how creative it is. Like, you know what you're signing up for when you go watch a Final Destination movie. And I feel like for the most part, the movies gave me what I was looking for. Again, some movies more than others do this really well. So I guess with that being said, let me go into each individual film. I will be going in release order, so not like ranking each movie or anything. I will probably do that at the end. Starting with Final Destination 1. My understanding is the script of the first Final Destination was written as an X-Files episode, and watching the movie, I can tell. I have not seen a lot of X-Files. It's something I've watched a few episodes of here and there, but like my dad loves X-Files. Jose binged, I think, like most of the show last year, the year before. And I would pop in and out, watch a few episodes, and kind of talk to him about it. The vibe I have while watching Final Destination is a very X-Files vibe. It's very atmospheric. And yeah, sometimes it could be a little goofy. Sometimes it's a lot more somber and serious. But there's this atmosphere and vibe that there is something out there, that there is something mysterious that you don't quite understand, and you have a reason to be wary of it, if not outright terrified of it, because you don't understand what it's all about. And I like that. Also, apparently, it was filmed in Vancouver, where apparently most of X-Files was. I think that's kind of neat. There's the two FBI agents. I was like, this feels kind of Mulder and Scully-ish. And then Jose was telling me, because he watched most of the first movie with me. He's like, yeah, there's that one interaction where the one dude's like, can I confess something to you? What scares me is I almost believed him. And I think the other guy's like, you terrify me. You know, that he's like, that felt like some Mulder and Scully shit. And I thought that was kind of neat. This movie's an interesting time capsule just of the year 2000 to me, very specifically because the premonition is about an exploding plane. And given what happened in 2001, let me say it like this. The FBI agents have every right to be suspicious of Alex given the scenario. I feel like after 9/11, they would have been a lot more aggressive in how they pursue him and try to figure out what the fuck happened. And Alex would come across as a lot more suspicious, and he would have been aware of that. And that's kind of how this movie's like a weird little time capsule. I, on the one hand, really love Flight 180. Again, looking at it, I hate to say this about a plane exploding, but looking at it as a joke, what is our build-up to the punchline? We've got the 180 flashing in Alex's clock. I think that's kind of neat, like the 100 turning into a 180. The luggage tag, which he said, it's lucky if it's like that. It breaks, so now we've got that luck. Not the flight attendant, but the receptionist. I don't know if they have a different term for that in an airport. I don't remember. But essentially the receptionist being like, oh yeah, your departure, your date of departure is the same as your birthday. I don't know, just hearing that made my skin crawl a little bit. I'm like, I don't like that. That would freak me out a little bit. I'd still get on the plane. I wouldn't like it. The John Denver thing, that's where it gets funny. I'm sorry, just the idea of John Denver and Rocky Mountain High specifically being this harbinger of death, it just kind of makes me laugh. They do something with that in 5 where Dust in the Wind plays before the bridge collapse, and then Sam hears it again before Flight 180. I should probably say spoilers for the whole series, but I feel like that's kind of expected. I'll put it in the comments or the description of the video. Anyways, Dust in the Wind, given the nature of the song, I feel like works as this ominous foreboding something's gonna happen. Rocky Mountain High kinda doesn't. And there's the part of me that goes, leaving on a jet plane was right there. I mean, it's gonna be silly either way. You could have just done that one. It fits a lot more. It feels a lot more foreboding when you're on an airport, or in an airport about to go on a plane. But I'm also like, that is a bit much. That's really on the nose. You're hearing leave it on a jet plane in an airport by, a guy who died in a plane crash. It's... And this is also, like I said, because it has that atmosphere, it's before the movies really got goofy. Like in Final Destination 4, they absolutely would have played Leaving on a Jet Plane if they were doing Flight 180. The actual destruction of the plane, like the actual premonition, I think it's good. Me personally, I think it still holds up. The one thing I both really like and really don't like is we don't see a lot of individual deaths in this premonition the way we do in other films. On the one hand, I don't like it because I feel like that's a big part of the identity of the other premonitions. Like, here's all the little unique things, to happen. It really kind of build it again. It's like the punchline, like it keeps building and building and building. But it works in the first film because, number one, it's the first film. We don't really know how death works and what the rules are. And granted, what happens in some of the other movies, who the fuck really knows? Death kind of changes how it works half the time anyways. But because you don't see all the individual deaths, you don't know the order, which makes that atmospheric suspense and that, like, I need to be afraid, but I don't know who I should be afraid for right now. It works a lot better. Like, I really think it works in the movie's favor. Going over, I guess another thing I like as well is, this might be a bit controversial because I've heard some people like really don't like how some of the cast treats Alex after what happens, like Miss Luton in particular. I don't mind that because I do feel like, yeah, you know, some people would be like, holy shit, thank you for saving my life. I am so happy that, like, because of what happened, I got off that plane. I didn't fucking explode. But I do think, yeah, a lot of people realistically would just be freaked out. Like, how did you know that? Even if you don't think he blew up the plane and you do think it was like he had some kind of vision, that's still fucking weird. And for Miss Luton in particular, because she has that survivor's guilt, because the other teacher was going to say, hey, you know, I'll stay here. She's like, no, you go on the plane. You go to Paris. I'll stay back. For her, it's, I sentenced that man to die. I could have saved him. I would have died in his place, but because my survivor's guilt is so strong, like, Alex, like, she kind of has to lash out against someone. Like, I'm not gonna say, like, how cold she is toward him, like, she should be like that, but, like, I get it. And that's just what I like about the first movie. I also like how the deaths don't feel as Looney Tunes-ish, and I love some of the Looney Tunes shit in the other movies. I can't wait to talk about one of my favorites in 3. But I like how low-key it is, because again, it feels a lot more atmospheric. Like, there is something, like, death is not fucking with you. It's not like trying to pull a joke. It's not trying to... Death is just vindictive and efficient. That's the vibe you get from the first movie. And there's a little bit of that playfulness near the end when Alex thinks it's his turn, but it's actually Clear's turn. And there's like a couple accidents going on around Alex, which I don't think is like, oh yeah, that's Death making an attempt and then going on to Clear, because Clear was next. Also, something they established in the first movie when Alex saves Carter, which is kind of more or less solid throughout the other movies, is someone has to intervene to save you. If it is just you trying to save yourself, you will never survive. So, anything that happens in the hunting lodge with, like, what is it? I think it's like a fishing hook opens the door and then, like, some knives fall out and Alex stops. It's like, no, that was not Death trying to kill him. That was either a pure unadulterated accident and Death had nothing to do with it, or Death was kind of playing a joke. It's like, this is not going to kill, like, this is not my design for you now. Messing with you a little bit because I want your focus here when Clear is the actual target. And there is, I feel like it goes less into like death being goofy and just really plays more into the sadism that I find kind of interesting. Todd's death is one of my favorites in the entire series. It might be my favorite in the entire series. I do think the water, like, going back down the drain, like Death hiding his tracks, is kind of silly because it's the only time it happens. But again, you can make the argument that it's supposed to kind of go into the sadism of everything. It's, I'm going to make everyone think that this kid killed himself. He didn't. He was actively trying to survive. But I want them to think that he did. Because no one's going to think that I'm after them. They're going to think, he just couldn't take it anymore. And let's see how that impacts, like the way the other survivors are going about their day. Like, how is that going to mess with them? Like, I imagine he's pissed at Alex for getting everyone off that plane. It's like, so I'm going to he's going to target Todd first anyways, because that's design and the order and everything. It's like, I'm going to make it in a way that's especially going to hurt you. I kind of like that. And what I really like about it is with the strangulation, it's violent and it's graphic without being gory. And there's not a lot of deaths in the series you can say that for. Like, there's a lot of really violent ones, but it's, like, they tend to, like, really be, like, graphic or gory if they do that. This one isn't. And I think that's really neat. And then I have to shout out the bus. Just, again, like, some punchlines are about misdirection. Some are like, you get some setup. Like, Todd has quite a bit of setup to it. I think really good payoff. Terry's is just a quick one. It's just very quick timing. I think that's what makes it really effective from what I understand. Because it's the scene right after is like the Alka-Seltzer, like, settling or dissolving. Apparently the test audiences were just so in shock of the scene that just happened. They had to have like a little scene in between to just let everything settle. And I think that's really cool. I guess I'm just going to go through every death in the first movie then, because I have to talk about Luton's, because it is the first real Final Destination death. Like, here's the setup. Like, okay, you got to have the porcelain cup crack because there was something hot and then something cold in it. It's cracking, it's leaking the vodka everywhere, and then she puts it on the computer screen, and then the liquid gets into the screen, which causes it to explode. So now there's this glass in her neck, and she's walking back, and because there was an explosion, there's a spark. Is that where the spark happened? Because I think there's a spark a little later too. But now the vodka's on fire, so now the kitchen's on fire, and she goes to grab a cloth that she put on some knives. As she pulls out the cloth, and the knives come out, and it's insane. And there's a part of me that loves it, and I have to at least give it credit, not only because it's the first like crazy Final Destination death, but there's not a lot of fake outs with it. Like, every little thing does contribute, and that doesn't always happen. It kind of, again, using the joke analogy, the joke goes on a bit long. And I don't know how much the punchline really makes up for it. I think it works. It works fine, but I don't think it's as good as the first two. And then the last death in the movie with Billy, again, it's another quick one. Like, okay, you have the car gets smashed. You get your, like, you had build up with Carter. It's like, here's the setup. I'm ready to die. I'm going to die on my terms. So now he doesn't want to. Now he's freaking out. So Alex is going to go save him. And he's able to do it because he saw something earlier. And he's like, I knew the seatbelt would break. I knew I could save Carter. We're good. We're Gucci. I got this. And then Billy's like, you're next. You're going to die. You're taking me with you. But no, it's not Carter. It is Billy that's next. And it was because of Carter's car. So you could argue that, yeah, he kind of was taking Billy with him. And it's actually pretty violent. It feels like it's the first really violent death in the series. No, I mean, Luton has a lot of blood too, but just like the decapitation, like, it's a pretty clean decapitation. Good shit. And then Carter's is off screen, and there's a lot. One thing I find really interesting about the first movie is there's a whole 39 days in between the just like Flight 180 blowing up and like actually going through the survivors. In my head, I kind of thought about it. I was like, 39 days, 2000. Was Death just like watching Survivor? Was he just like, hold on a second? Like, I know I got my list to do, this shit going on in Borneo is really interesting, and I don't know, it's called Survivor. I feel like I need to keep a close eye on what's happening. Watched it, was like, oh, okay, no one died, I'm good. Now let me do my job here. Because in most of the other movies, like, death is pretty quick. Like, in Final Destination 2, Kimmy's friends die immediately. Like, it's like a couple minutes after when they were supposed to die, or almost like exactly when they were supposed to die. In 4, you have, what's her name, like Nadia, I think, still dying, like, as shit is still happening. 3, I think, is like a couple days later. 5, I don't remember how much time there was. I think there's like a few days, maybe a week, before death starts going down the list. I have no idea in Bloodlines, just because of the nature of what happens and like kind of how it happens. Death waited a while before going after anyone, and then after skipping clear, waits another like 6 months before going for Alex and then restarting with Carter. I don't really know why, and just kind of find it interesting, I guess. But overall, I think, and yeah, the way Carter goes out, like the fade to black, like, yeah, it's kind of weak. But I mostly think the deaths in 1 are good. I love the atmosphere in 1. It has I know I kind of said earlier, everything but 4 has like an argument to be my favorite. 1 has one of the strongest arguments. It's in my top 3. I think it's really in my top 2, and it might be my number 1. Then we get to Final Destination 2, which I think 2, along with Bloodlines, is probably the best example of what a Final Destination movie is, particularly what the tone of a Final Destination movie is. Because 2, to an extent, still kind of has that atmospheric X-Files-y vibe to it. Just like, a lot of it is in the lighting. I didn't really talk about that in 1, but just like the way scenes look, like it's not very bright. Like it's almost kind of like bluish at points. Like, I don't know. It is more like gray. But I don't know. There's just something somber about the way the movie looks that I really like. 2 also really engages in some Looney Tunes shit. And I think it's kind of a perfect example of what a Final Destination movie is. Do I have to say anything about The Premonition? It's perfect. It's probably the best in the series. There's a lot of explosions. You see a lot of individual deaths, and they're all, like, again, cool fucking explosions. Burke's death with the log truck is probably the single most iconic thing in the entire franchise. It's great. I remember when the movie came out, like when I would be on like the TV Guide channel, just like, all right, you know, like when is Kim Possible coming on and shit. Like if they would show like little adverts for the movie, and a couple of the things I really remember them showing are like Tim looking up as like the pane of glass is about to fall, Evan like on the ladder and the ladder stopping like right before it hits his head, and of course that like log falling off the truck, bouncing and going forward. Of course you don't see it hitting Burke's face, but showing that they knew what the iconic moment of this movie was going to be. And I give them a lot of respect for that. Like I said, I think 2 strikes a good balance between that somber atmosphericness and just some of the goofy shit that happens later. Like, you see the survivors who don't know each other, a bunch of strangers, but you do see them trying to band together, figure out what's going on. You know, sometimes people will crack jokes, like you've got Rory just snuffing coke, like, right from his thumb, but you also have him, like, saving that kid's life, because, you know, why wouldn't he try to do that for someone? Killing Alex in between movies, but just like, oh yeah, yo, brick fell on his head. I hate that. I really hate. As much as I love 2, that right there is kind of why I have it near the bottom in my rankings. I don't hate it. I very much don't hate it. But it loses a lot of points with me for that. I think that just sucks. So let's talk about Death going backwards. Because this... I don't know what to think about this. Because the idea of like, oh, okay, half the survivors in this incident are people who should have died about a year ago. But because the people from Flight 180 survived, their lives and their eventual deaths had ripple effects. And, like, for example, the bus that hit Terry, the Phantom bus that came out of nowhere, that hit Terry, Kat was on that bus, and because she was on that bus, she didn't go to a place she was supposed to go to where she was going to die. Because Luton died, Eugene ended up being a substitute teacher at that school, so he wasn't at his school when there was a shootout, etc., etc. Which you're like, huh, that is interesting, and I like that connection. I think that's really cool. They don't really focus on it a whole lot. It's kind of one scene of everyone figuring that out, and then it's like time to kill Kat and Rory. But I think it's still kind of a neat idea. And then Clear's like, oh, that's why Death is working backwards. He's clearing up loose ends. Huh? Because now I have to look ahead at Bloodlines where I'm like, well, so New Life doesn't beat Death. It just adds to the list. So does that mean, like, Kimmy, Burke, Kat, Eugene, and Rory, are they just extensions then of the Flight 180 list? Because these people surviving made more people alive? Huh? Is that how that's actually supposed to work? Which means that kids, I want to call him Brian, I think that was right. So Rory saving Brian is kind of the same thing. So, but if Kimmy's new life beat Death because she was supposed to die and she didn't, and that broke the chain, I'm assuming that saved Burke as well. Shouldn't it also have saved Brian because he's an extension of Kimmy's list? Maybe, but not clearly? Huh? Also, if Death's working backwards for loose ends, wouldn't it make more sense if he's wants to tie up the loose ends first? Like, hold on a second. I know you died, like, Burke dies first. But let's say Burke had died last. And it's like, I know you died last, but hold on a second. You've been on my list for a while. I gotta work through y'all first before I get to the new shit. In a way, kind of like what happened in Bloodlines, where the loose ends are like the rest of someone's line. I have to clear the line before going down to the next one. So it doesn't really make sense. But sure, you can say maybe Death's like, look, let me take care of these new people, then I'm going to get to the old ones and all the things I have planned for you. Sure, I can buy that, but here's the problem. By working backwards, he starts with Kimmy and her friends, and the friends do die. Kimmy gets saved, which means she gets skipped. But that does mean Death, by going backwards, is starting with a loose end. But if he had gone forwards, he would have also been starting with the loose ends. And it's not like, okay, let me start with Kimmy and then do the other. Like, it doesn't make sense. And that bothers me. And I know it shouldn't. It's Final Destination. But it does. It does because the rules are important. Death's design is how this shit works. And as we see in this movie and in 4, and it's one of the few things I do like in 4, I'd probably be more into it if 2 hadn't already done it, you can't die out of order. Death has a design. That scene with Eugene, like, trying to kill himself with a fully loaded gun, and it's, misfires every time, I think is cool as hell. Because Death is saying, no, not yet. And I like that. So the rules are important, and they matter. But they don't make any sense here. And maybe there's an argument that, the survivors, like half of these survivors are kind of considered part of Flight 180's list. So Death had to try to go clear before he could go after him. But again, he started with Kimmy and her friends. And Kimmy was right there but got saved. So it doesn't work kind of at all. Which is another thing that, like, gets me about the movie. Like, look, I hate the way you did Alex. and your big unique thing, aside from new death beating life, which is cool, and I like that, but the other thing about death working backward just doesn't make sense. And I've tried to think of a way of, like, how it does, and it just doesn't. But are the deaths cool? Well, everything in the log truck rules. Evan is, like, a perfectly executed joke. There's great setups. There's, like, little punchlines everywhere, like him trying to get his hand out of the disposal, but he can't because of the nice watch he just put in it, which means he can't go stop the fire because he fucked up putting the wrong stuff in the microwave, which is just funny. Him just slipping on the spaghetti that he threw out, like, that is genuinely funny. And then the look, I made it. There's, like, little payoffs throughout, and I think it ends great. I think it is kind of an all-time Final Destination death. I think a lot of the setup with Tim in the dentist's office, because it's a dentist's office, that's always just kind of gonna make someone's skin crawl, is good. And, like, the pufferfish falling in his mouth and it almost, like, suffocates him, I think is a good fake out. Because, again, like, it's creepy, it's unsettling, like, oh my gosh, being in that situation, being fucking unable to move, that's great. The actual death of just, no, like, some shit just falls and crushes him, I think it's good. I think it's fine. Like, I like it. I don't know if I quite love it, but I like it. His mom with the hooks, I don't like it. It's great. I'm like, that's one of those that just, kind of makes my skin crawl. Cats, I think, is, like, pretty good. Rory's is an all-time favorite. And it's like, yeah, they're like, okay, so Kat just happens to drop her thing, which happens to roll like this, which I'll like, it's very goofy. It's pretty fucking cool, though. Like, damn, my man's got trisected by a barbed wire fence. Well played. Eugene sucks. I think it's a pretty boring, not great looking explosion, and it taking out Clear as well, I just kind of find unsatisfying. So there's some really good deaths. I feel like the last couple are kind of a whimper, and, like, the ending with the Brian explosion, I do think it's a pretty funny note to end on. But again, now after watching Bloodlines, how Bloodlines explains things, I'm like, if like, he's part of their list, I think what Kimmy did should have saved him. So this shit don't even make sense. So I like to. I really do. Like, I think it's, like I said, I think tonally it's the perfect encapsulation of what Final Destination is. I think it's a good time, especially if you're turning your brain off. But I can't, especially in a series that is so lore and rule heavy as Final Destination. And if you're actually thinking, boy, there's a lot of problems in 2. But I enjoy the hell out of it. Then we get 3. 3 is where it kind of just goes full Looney Tunes. But it is grounded by Wendy and Kevin being super likable, actively trying to, like, save people and figure things out. I think the idea of, like, oh yeah, I took everyone's picture and, like, there's hints in the picture of what's about to happen. That's a cool detail, and I really like that. It doesn't have the most likable cast of characters. There's a good chunk of them where I'm like, look, do I want you to die? No, but I'm not anxious about your fate, But I think the start of the film, and I do think a lot of that just comes from, like, what's her name? Mary Elizabeth Winstead, but, like, Wendy's actress, and she just does so freaking well. I really do like, it's after the roller coaster, just, like, her, like, I don't want to go to graduation, like, I just went to go pick up my diploma. Like, that is the, like, classic Final Destination atmosphere and somberness that I really, really like. The roller coaster is a really cool sequence. I like how fast it is. I like how claustrophobic it is. I think there's quite a few shots are just first person. So I was like, this is just making it feel that much more personal. A lot of the individual deaths in the roller coaster, I don't super remember. I'll be honest, like definitely not the way I do with the pile up. But I think the actual experience of that premonition, is really, really good. The individual deaths. There's an argument that in terms of the individual kills, that this is the best fucking movie in the franchise. The tanning beds, work of art. Yes, alright, so they put a slushie in there, and the condensation of the slushie gets into the machine, which causes the machine to malfunction. It's pretty stupid. They're like, alright, this dude uses like a tube of, I don't know, like sunscreen, I guess, to stop the door, and the door keeps moving, and so now we can't get in to save them. It's pretty stupid. The fucking shelf falling, and so now they can't get out is really, really stupid. But the actual kill and the buildup of the destruction and the fire is really effective. And then just that cut of the 2 tanning beds and then the 2 gravestones is so funny. That is some dark comedy, but that's a pretty good joke. It's great. Frankie, who is just a real piece of shit. Him just, the back of his head just fucking exploding from the fan of the engine is really brutal. Again, I feel like you start to get some the brutality and the violence in 2, and then 3 is just let me show you some shit. It's not my favorite, but I think it's a pretty solid kill. This is arguably my favorite kill in the series. I don't even know if it's the best kill in the movie, because the tanning beds are great, and the next one is great too. But Lewis, you're in a gym, you're in a weight room, so there's so many things that can go wrong, and I think you do see in his picture, it looks like a head is a weight's about to crush his head, so you kind of know what's about to happen, but you don't super know what's about to happen, and you got these swords behind him that just fall, and they cut a thing, and you're like, oh man, is that gonna get him, and they don't, and the whole time he's talking shit, he's like, fuck the Bruins, and then everyone's like, fuck the Bruins, and he's getting super hyped, and he's about how he's gonna go to the Raiders, and he's about to be an all-time football player, and fuck the Bruins, and he's like, to think another me, yeah, and then the voice just, it's so funny. Just the build-up, him shit-talking death, just the super aggressive testosterone, and then just the quick punchline. It is perfection. Again, there are some deaths in this series that I mentally kind of keep coming back to. It's just I didn't like that. Oh, I really didn't like that. We'll get to the MRI machine and bloodlines. But I'm like, oh man, this is one I keep coming back to. I just kind of keep giggling like an idiot every time. It's absolute cinema. What is after that? Okay, so after that is the hardware store, which it's kind of like I was saying earlier with Luton, where there's a lot of build up to the joke, and it goes on for way too long. And this is when they save Ian, and I don't like it, where I feel like a lot of the build up is just what's going on? What's actually supposed to kill him? I'm not even sure, and there's a lot of good shit in here. It's a hardware store. Death has so many options here. But it's I don't know. I think some spikes were gonna fall on his head, and I don't know. It's okay. It's not a great sequence. And then immediately you get the nail gun. I love the nail gun. And it's the way that Aaron's head is jerking each time. It makes it feel realistic, which is what makes it feel so much more unsettling. Like, Lewis is just some goofy shit. The nail gun is like, the nails are like in her face and shit. I'm like, oh, I don't like that. It's good shit. I love it. But just like, damn, that looked painful. Well done. No notes. Then we get to like the fair where Julie almost dies and it's like a whole thing and like it's okay. And they're like, okay, one of your friends is next. Who is it? And then a flagpole just like goes through her chest. Like, okay, I don't really know who you are, so I'm sorry. I don't care that much beyond just like basic human empathy. And I don't know, it's like kind of funny, but nothing too crazy. And you save a boy Kevin, and then Wendy almost gets hit, and then Ian gets crushed, and like it's fine. I think that's a okay sequence. And then we get the train. It's not the worst premonition in the series. There's 2 of those in 4. But it's really hard to see what's going on throughout a lot of this sequence. So I'm not big on it. What happens to Julie is just kind of confusing. I'm like, so is that like one of the wheels? Or is, like, okay, how the fuck did that even happen? But sure, I guess. What happens to Kevin is pretty neat, where he ends up going like through a window and gets like crushed like as the between like the train and the wall. I'm like, oh, that was pretty brutal. That was a cool one. Like, sorry to see him go, because I liked Kevin, but damn. And then, you know, Wendy, the broken ankle, like there's blood on her face as the train is coming. Like, okay, that's effective. I hate to see it because I really liked her and Kevin, but well played. Also, the fact that she gets the premonition after it's too late for her to get off, and she almost got off, but then as her sister's coming, I was like, hey sis, and now she can't leave, and she was like, something's off, I need to leave. Fuck, now I can't. Has the premonition, realizes it's too late, and a single tear. That is actually a really good and effective scene. I hate to see it happen, but damn. So overall with 3, like, I feel like 3 avoids the pitfalls of 2, where I'm like, okay, you fucked up my legacy characters. Like, well, there were no legacy characters here. And like, there's I think like a deleted scene where they talk about Kimmy and Burke and a wood chipper, but it's non-canon, and Bloodlines confirms it's non-canon. So like, all right, you get a pass for that. I don't think you really fucked up the rules at all, so I'm not mad about you there. The premonition, not as good as 2, but still really good. I feel like the individual deaths are of similar quality, possibly even better. I think I like the cast of 2 overall a lot more, but 3 has better leads. You know, I went into this thinking like 2 and 3 are about even, but I think I prefer 2. I'm like, I might actually prefer 3. Then again, I think 3 peaks too early. Like, I think about 2/3 in, you've kind of seen the best it has to offer, because I think the climax is a little weak. And granted, like I said, I'm not crazy about the last couple deaths in 2 either, but I do think the whole like new life for Death and the thing with Brian at the end, although again in hindsight it doesn't super work, it works enough in the moment. They're still kind of about even. But I would say I have them both closer to the bottom, but I still really like them. Transitioning into the bottom. The Final Destination. Final Destination 4. Final Destination 3D, because there's so much shit popping out at you, and it's so obnoxious, and it all looks so bad. Why is it so bad? Like, most of these characters don't really have names or like much to them. They're just kind of like, I feel like Final Destination has a reputation for like, yeah, the characters aren't great, they're just kind of setting up people to die. And yeah, like, not everyone in 1 is super developed, like there's not a whole lot to Terry, but I feel like there's a lot of empathy for the people in 1, and I feel like for the most part in 2, you know, really get a lot from Evan in that regard, but yeah, I feel like for kind of our main survivors, we do. 3, a lot of that comes from Wendy and Kevin. 4 is just like, it tries with George, and it tries with Nick and Lori, and there's like almost something that kind of works, but there's too many survivors, which feels really fucked up to say. It's like there's too many people on the list, and most of them aren't that interesting. They're just super forgettable. Once the McKinley racetrack situation started happening, and I'm like, okay, so like there's some thing of petrol that just kind of like not it didn't even like a very strong like that's a stiff wind, like it was like a light breeze that just topples over and has all this shit, and this thing goes flying, and now this car, the premonition is just stupid. Like, this is what caused it? Really? This is what's happening? And as the woman just sits there, and then the fucking engine falls on her, like, this looks so bad. And Janet and Hun, and the way the thing falls on, like, the production of this movie, like, the way the effects look and the way people talk in this movie feels like a movie. Like, date movie, epic movie. It feels like one of those. 4 feels like a parody of what a Final Destination movie is, and it's not a particularly funny one either. Oh gosh. Sorry, I just started remembering all of Nick's little visions. It'll be like this is the next item to worry about, but again, it's like really bad CG doing 3D shit. Looks terrible. The fucking snake looks so bad. Oh, it's amazing. And then a lot of the individual deaths in like the racetrack sequence just look terrible. Like what happens to Andy, what happens to Nick, it's the bottom of the fucking barrel. Like it is the single worst thing I have seen in a Final Destination movie. The individual deaths, I mean, some of them are like kind of something, like Carter, who's just a racist dude. So he goes to plant a cross to set it on fire because he's a racist piece of shit. His truck radio comes on and starts playing Why Can't We Be Friends? Okay, that's genuinely funny. Then he goes to like try to turn it off, but he ends up getting, I'm not even sure what was happening, and I think, again, part of it was the movie was kind of weirdly cropped and its aspect ratio was fucked. Like, so he gets hooked by, like, his truck hook. The truck just starts moving and dragging him down the street, and he ends up getting caught on fire, and that's how he dies. Again, while the truck is blaring, Why Can't We Be Friends? Like, you get a lot of points for that one. That one's funny. I liked that one. What was next? Was that the mom? I don't think it was Andy. I thought Andy... No, okay, so that's right. The first one is the tire. Oh, gosh. The first one is the tire. So it's right after the incident. Like, after all this shit has happened, like, here's our survivors, and then one of them is yelling at Nick. And somehow a tire goes flying all the way in the air and just happens to land on her fucking head. And it's so stupid. It's so stupid. And then you have what happens with Carter, and you're like, okay, at least that one was like really funny, but also what the fuck happened? And then you have the mom and the lawnmower. So this is another one where, like, there's some fake outs of, like, all right, what's going to happen with, like, this really shitty chair, and, like, she's getting her hair cut, like, is the chair going to fuck up and she's going to break her neck? Is it going to fuck up and, like, she's going to get stabbed with the scissors? There's a fan that's messing up, like, is she going to get electrocuted? Is it just going to fall and, like, chop her head off? And, like, nothing happens, and then she goes outside. She tells her sons, I've got my eye on you. Then she goes outside, and then a rock goes through a lawnmower and through her eye, and she dies. That I've got my eye on you completely ruined the scene for me. I can't lie. Like, it went from, like, okay, like, there's some good build-ups here in the joke. Okay, they're all, like, misdirections. Okay, we're getting something closer to Final Destination 1 with the actual death, where it's just something quick without a lot of build-up to it. But the fact that we had all of this build-up, and it all amounted to nothing, makes the actual payoff feel less like okay, you got me with that, and it just feels unsatisfying. And it's that line. Like, you gave away the punchline right before it happened, making the punchline less, like, effective. It just, like I said a little bit ago with, like, the nail gun, there are deaths that make me cringe in a good way. That made me cringe because it just, oh, that's so stupid. Why would you say that? Why would you do that? And we get the next thing, which is, I think that's the water, and that's the Janet and Hunt who died at the same time. First off, I have to throw Nick under the bus. This is the only dude in the series. So, like, Alex's premonition does not give him an order, and he has to figure it out. Kimmy has an order in her premonition, and she's, like, trying to do shit with it. Sorry, I forgot Wendy's name for a second. Wendy has the order, and she and Kevin are working with, like, the photographs to try to figure shit out and to save people. Nick, bless his heart, had a vision, and it's like, dog, I don't remember anything that happened. I just remember, like, yo, we're gonna die, blah, 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 we gotta get out of here. Like, some of the stuff is gonna happen, but I don't remember the order of who died. Which makes him feel kind of useless. Like, I'm sorry. And I get it. Like, I feel like I can easily see someone having a vision and it being, like, so traumatizing and fucked up. They almost, like, their mind is repressing what happened. Think of it as, like, a dream. Like, you have a really weird, intense dream. You wake up and you remember how it made you feel, but you don't remember the specifics. Like, I get that. But, man, it makes him kind of the load. You've got him trying to save Hunt. He's like, I know it's going to be in water, and he's at the pool, and as his friend is drowning and getting disemboweled, we'll talk about that in a second, he's just kind of like, I wonder where Hunt is. Like, it... Dog. You are not being that helpful or that useful. What was the other thing? Because not the situation with the cowboy, because, like, I want to give him crap for that, but I really can't. Because he's like, yeah, I didn't see the dude get out, so I just figured he was dead. Oh, okay, I remember what my problem is now, but, like, I'll give him a pass on that one because he genuinely had no way of knowing the dude was still alive. What I hate about 4 is the movie is, like, the characters keep thinking, hey, if we save one person, we're all good. And granted, it's like, hey, look, they don't know the rules. They've never been in the situation before. This is the 4th fucking movie, though. I, as the viewer, know the rules. Just looks at 2 and the loose ends and shit, like, okay, maybe no one knows the rules. But we know from the first film, saving someone does not end the list. And with so much of the movie, like, oh man, if we save one person, maybe we can do this. Hey, look, we saved Janet, and, George has been trying to kill himself all day, but he can't. We must be saved. Like, we all know you're not. Why are we wasting all this time with this? Like, the movie feels really short, but weirdly kind of bloated at the same time. Like, it just doesn't work. But then we get our almost double kill with Janet and Hunt. Janet's almost death is almost great. With, like, she's at a car wash, and the sunroof is messing up, and there's a point where, I don't remember why she sticks her head up. But, like, she ends up sticking her head up, and the sunroof, like, catches it. It doesn't decapitate her, but, like, it catches. And, like, there's water coming in. Oh, no, that's why. Because, like, because the sunroof is messing up and she's in the car wash, water's just coming into her car. So she has to get her head up so she doesn't drown, but it catches her there. So, like, she can't, like, escape the car. That, for, like, a drowning situation, that is fucking terrifying. Like, that's strong, that's effective. But that's not what Death tries to do. Instead, he's trying to have her, like, get killed, her face, like, washed by the scrubbers on the car wash. And from what I understand, like, that's completely fucking safe to do. like, I think there's supposed to be a Mythbusters episode where they were like, yeah, that's fine. People do that. It's completely safe. So all of this buildup, and again, like, to drown her, that's effective. What Death was actually trying to do? Well, now it's just stupid again. Look at Hunt. So the pool, like, drain turns on, and he's near the bottom, so he just kind of gets sucked down. And, like, he can't get up because the suction is working. Okay. This is effective. You got a dude underwater who can't get away because there's something pulling him, and there's all these people around, and no one knows what's going on. That is fucking scary. That is horrifying, actually. You are on a quickly depleting timer, and you can't signal to any of the people that could save you, and there's a lot of people who could save you. 10 out of 10, no notes. And then, so I'm just thinking of that line from Incredibles. And then you had to go and just ruin the ride. I mean, then the pool vacuum is getting stronger and malfunctioning, but there's nothing to cause it. Like, there's a deleted scene where there's something that hits it that causes it, but you don't see the electricity going crazy. You don't see there's water poured on, which makes it go haywire. It just does. And it's not the drowning that gets him, which is where that psychological terror is coming from. It's, no, the vacuum is so strong, it disembowels him. And then you see the guts go flying up, and it's the lame 3D effect, and it doesn't look good. It's lame, 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 lame. And I'm like, man, you had like a perfect death. And then you just did too much, and it doesn't work. Wait, I think I skipped Andy. I don't remember if Andy is before Janet and Hunt. I think he is, actually. That's my bad. But also, does anyone really care? It's so badly done and just jank as hell, where I'm not even really sure what happened. Like, so there was he put a can down and he put it on something which got really hot, so the can explodes and goes flying hard enough to hit him, have him keep going, and then he hits a fence and part of him goes through the fence, but you're seeing it from the back, so you don't really see what happened. It's confusing. It looks like shit. I don't know this dude, and why it just doesn't work. The bathtub getting so full that it falls on a dude is kind of stupid. Like, I feel like it's supposed to be funny, and it's almost funny. It's just not quite. George, who they're like trying to give a character because he's someone who's like, yeah, like, I was drunk driving once, I lost my wife and my daughter, and I have to live with that. And like, it's that guilt, and that guilt has been tearing me apart for years. Now that he knows that he's on death's list, he's attempted to kill himself. He's like, I'm next. I'm just going to end it on my terms. But he can't. Like, okay, like that's interesting. And I feel like in a better movie with like less people, and the people being like more interesting and likable, this could have been really effective. Instead, it falls kind of flat, which is really disappointing to me. And then the way he dies, they're just like walking, and then an ambulance just hits him. Like, okay, just feels like a shittier version of what happened with Terry. And then Nick has his premonition, and then right at the end of the premonition, he's like, oh shit, I can save Jordan. Never mind. You're like, good job, Nick. It's not his fault, but And then we have the whole thing in the mall where just watching the setup of what's all the shit falling and whatnot, I'm like, this looks so stupid. Death, you really have been phoning it in this whole movie, haven't you, buddy? Like, there's no, like, artistry or creativity in what's happening. Like, there's no believability. It's just It also doesn't really make sense because, wait, Janet got saved, so she skipped. So now it's Laurie after George, and it's going to be Nick. But Janet and Laurie were both, I think, supposed to die in the explosion? So, wait, when was it going to be Nick's turn? Like, why did it skip him, like, entirely to go back to Janet? That's not how this works. What? And then in the premonition, like, he gets Laurie out of there, and I don't know, maybe he was supposed to explode in there too, but no one intervenes on his behalf, so clearly not. But he gets Laurie out, and again, instead of Death targeting him next, assuming like she survived, it just kills Janet, so the order's off, and the rules are being fucked with. And the way that Laurie dies with the escalator, like, it kind of starts to look cool, and then just, I don't know, like, as it, like, it gets her leg, and then she starts, like, spitting up blood, like, okay, that looks really cool. And then it just, like, I think cuts to Nick freaking out, and then it cuts back to just, like, some meat going on. Like, what? Wait, what did I miss? Like, what the fuck happened? Huh? I feel like I missed something, and maybe I did. Again, maybe this was the aspect ratio being fucky, but, man, it just fell flat. Now, the scene of him, like, fully intervening and, like, stopping everything from happening, I do think genuinely looks like, I think it's cool. Like, as useless as Nick has been the entire film, having him, like, really step up, I think is good. I look at that and go, okay, so by stopping the explosion, he has actively saved Laurie. Forget about Janet. Laurie has been saved, so she is now skipped. Something has to go for Nick. And you can argue that's kind of what's happening in the explosion. Like, he gets, like, nailed to the wall, and, like, there's all the flammable shit. I'm like, yeah, but no one intervened for him. Essentially, you could argue, like, well, he saved himself. It was like, yeah, but we've established from one, that's not how this works. Someone has to save you. Otherwise, death is going to get you. So no one really intervenes on his behalf. So it's still his turn. But at the end of the movie, when the truck comes, it goes Janet and then Laurie and then Nick. Meaning at some point, Nick got skipped. And that happens, again, that also happened in the mall premonition, which makes it sound like Nick's not on the list, but in the racetrack premonition, he very clearly was. So again, like, it just, 4 looks like shit. Most of the characters don't matter. Like, they're like, I don't care. A lot of the actual deaths feel super weak. And it can't get the basic rules right. And then even when it does, like, yeah, if you get skipped, it just keeps going. They linger on that for so long, even though that's Final Destination 101. It's just a miserable experience. I was hoping it'd be so bad it's good, and I'd be laughing the entire time. And maybe if there were other people watching it with me, I could have had that experience. But solo, it was terrible. It also commits the cardinal sin of any Final Destination movie that I will only give a pass to 7 if and when it comes out. It is the only film to not have Tony Todd. Because in 3, he is the voice of the train conductor and the roller coaster. So while he does not appear in person as Bloodsworth, he's still in the movie. He's not in 4 at all. And what do you know? It's the worst one. It is, to me, the only true bad one. Bottom of the fucking barrel. No question. I would say it's like 4, 2, 3, maybe 3, 2. Like, I kind of go back and forth on them. Then we get to 5. After 4, 5 is like finding I almost said a desert in an oasis. It's finding an oasis in the desert. I'm like, wait a second. The film feels like it has a genuine sense of empathy for its characters. You have characters, like, actively grieving the loss of other characters. The characters actually have character. this is working. Wait, this is really, really good. I really like the cast in 5. Peter is one of my favorite characters in the series. He's not a good person, as like we see throughout the film. Like we see that slow descent into madness and then what he tries to do with Molly and Sam by the end. But I find it really interesting. It's a combination of how do I save myself and also dealing with his grief over Candace. I believe her name was Candace. The bridge collapse, I think, is really good. I say it like kind of questioningly because I don't know where I would rank it. Because on the one hand, I'm like, okay, it's not as good as the pile up, and it doesn't feel as like personal or claustrophobic as the roller coaster. It's not as classic as 1, but I feel like the individual deaths that we get are good. Here's the thing, like Candace's, it's like, okay, we're getting the like bad CG 3D, which doesn't work, and I feel kind of the same about Sam and Peter, although seeing Peter like fall and then like his head go boop, because earlier we saw a bucket do the same thing. I'm like, oh, okay, 88 points for that one. But like Isaac's, I think, is good. Olivia's, it's silly, but I think it's good. Nathan with just the fucking hook hitting him, like I think that's all right. Dennis with like the hot tar as like he's like holding on and the hot tar just covers his body. One of my favorite kills in the entire series. It is quick. It is brutal. The bridge is good shit. I think Sam and his relationship with Molly and how Molly's breaking up with him, she's like, you can do so much better. Like, I don't want to hold you back in your life. And he's like, but the only thing I really care about is you. Like, genuinely, like, in the premonition, you survived because I was doing everything I could to save you. I'm like, this is beautiful. Like, I actually, like, really invested in a relationship in a Final Destination movie. This doesn't really happen. This is great. I love this. Then we get the deaths. And we start with Candace, who's, about to her, like, do some gymnastics practice. She's like, I can't do this. Like, I don't feel ready to do this yet. But Peter's like, hey, you got this. I believe in you. And, like, her coach is telling her. So already there's a sense of tragedy where you're like, this person doesn't want to be in this situation right now, but she has to. And she has this little thing she does where she just kind of like messes with her hands. And I never actually saw her playing with a rubber band. It seemed like it's kind of an imaginary rubber band. And as she's doing it in her mind, she just hears like the rubber band snap. And she's like, it's something I do to relax and for good luck. And then it snaps. Again, it's that sense of like tragedy where she just knows I shouldn't be here right now. Something really bad is going to happen. But the peer pressure is keeping her there. I think the setup and the setup to the punchline is good. Like the fake out, the electrocution's like kind of okay, but all the shit with the screw and you see her on the balance beam like barely avoiding it. You're like, oh, I don't like that. This is gonna be bad. And like, okay, like as she's practicing on the bar, you see the bar is really loose. Like, okay, it's gonna fall and I don't know, she'll like break her neck or it'll like crush her or some shit. Like, oh, what's gonna happen? And it ends up being something, well, still Looney Tunesy, simple. She's going for her dismount, or it's like someone else on the balance beam lands on the screw and falls over, and they knock all the like chalk into the air as she's dismounting, so she can't see, gets distracted, falls and dies. Like she breaks her neck. Now, the way she falls and she's like splayed out and like the leg is broken, I think it goes just it's slightly too much. But if she had just, like, it's a simple fall, breaks her neck, it would have been perfect. Because it's still not realistic with just some of like the bullshit we see with like, oh yeah, the screw happens to fall and blah, blah, blah. But just like, yeah, that feels realistic enough. I think it just goes slightly too far. Isaac's death is great. Like, this guy is he's just such a douche. But he's really funny. Like, this dude is super unlikable, but he's making me laugh the whole time. Like, the scene where he's at, like, the dead colleagues, like, desk is like, oh, this person, I'm so sad. And just, like, going through their shit. It's like, what a scumbag, but I am laughing. Just all the build up to what happens to him, like, he gets this really violent massage, and then he gets acupuncture. You're like, oh, that's painful. Excuse me. And he ends up rolling off the bed, so the needles go in him, and that scene where he, like, slowly pulls out a needle, that's the shit that makes me cringe, but it's good cringe. I love it. And then the actual impact of the Buddha statue that he made fun of earlier, just smashing his head, and just like zooms in on the smiling Buddha covered in the dude's blood. Like, nah, this is actually fantastic. Olivia and the LASIK. So, again, it's kind of like the tanning beds with the, like, okay, so the water cooler, somehow the water ends up getting into the plug, which caused the electricity to go haywire. Like, that's a little stupid. The laser cutting into her eye and then, like, melting her hand, good cringe. Like, I hated looking at it. Like, I don't want to look at this, but I can't look away. Good shit, no notes. But the actual way she dies, where she just kind of stumbles out the window because, like, she hits the window and the window just happens to shatter that easily. Like, okay, I don't think I super buy this anymore. And then, like, her eye pops out when she hits the ground and a car rolls over. Like, okay, like, that's, you kind of salvaged it a bit at the end. It's like the setup is, like, bad and then really good and then bad, but then it's good again. So I'm kind of mixed on it, but I give it a lot of credit for just how much I, like, fucking cringe during the LASIK. What is after that? I think after that is Roy, because it's supposed to be Nathan, but Roy accidentally gets killed in this den. Like, it's pretty weak. It's kind of whatever. Dennis is just super quick. It's kind of nothing. And then the FBI agent just getting shot is, like, whatever. But all of the, like, I think I just like a lot of the human moments throughout the film. Like, of the coworkers talking and they're, you know, trying to figure out how to go forward with their lives, and you see how Peter is doing, he's not doing well, or, like, the giant funeral for all the dead colleagues, and and Dennis is like, oh yeah, you know, this person and this person, who could forget Isaac Palmer? And Isaac's like, wait, did you say me? I'm still alive. And Olivia just starts laughing, and she's like, I'm sorry, I'm just really bad with tragedies. Like, it's really, like, a bunch of human moments. And again, like I said, how much I really like Peter and Sam and Molly's relationship and how that's explored throughout the movie. I love the scene where Sam is in the kitchen. He's like, I know it's not my time yet, but I don't know when it's about to be my time, and there's a lot of shit in here that could kill me. And then the climax in the kitchen when, like, Peter is trying to kill him and Molly, like Molly in particular, is really good. Sam and Molly end up dying on Flight 180 because the movie ends up being a prequel, and that just knife twist, like, is really effective, and I hate it, but I really like it and really respect it. And then Nathan dies right after them as also part of Flight 180 when the landing gear, like, falls on him and crushes him. Like I said, I think 2 tonally is a great, like, perfect representation of what a Final Destination movie is. But I feel like the tone that 5 has is a lot more similar to 1, which is what I tend to prefer in a Final Destination movie. So I kind of go back and forth on if 1 or 5 is my favorite. I really don't know. I feel like the kills in 5, like, a lot of the setups are really good. The payoffs don't always work entirely, but I think they're effective, and I really love how much empathy I had for the cast. It's like, it's definitely top 3, arguably number 1, and then we end on Bloodlines, which is also in my top 3. I already did a video on Bloodlines, so this is already almost it's like an hour and a half. Whoops. But I guess I'll go over every individual death again. So I love the collapse of the sky view. I think it looks super cool. I love the scope. I love the scale. I love that Iris prevents the entire thing from happening and saves hundreds of lives, and Death is not happy. But I think that's really cool. Just a lot of the individual shit, like the glass floor. I'm terrible with heights. So just that scene when they're on the elevator and they're looking down, like, oh, I don't like that. Or just any time you're looking down the glass floor, I'm like, oh, I don't like this. The elevator slicing that dude in half is just fucking peak. The piano landing on the kid who caused the whole thing is fantastic. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I'm just remembering that scene with her ring finger. Just it's great. So in terms of its tone, I had said that I don't know if I specifically said 2 and 6 or if I said 2 in another movie or like the perfect encapsulation, but I think 2 also has that perfect Final Destination tone because there's a lot of those human moments and like you really see people grieving for each other, wanting to save each other, not just because, hey, if I save you, maybe we'll skip the whole thing. It's, I want to save you because I care about you, because it's about a family. And you feel a lot of those familial connections. Like you, especially like with how, I love how hard you see Eric trying to save Bobby, but it's Eric that caused Bobby's death. Like it's awful, but it's great. It has Tony Todd's monologue, which is probably my favorite moment of the entire series. And as there's no death, nothing violent, it is just a man saying, everyone should enjoy the lives they have. You don't know how much time you have left. Make the most of every moment. And that's the thing about Bloodlines. The other movies, like maybe 5, but Bloodlines is the first movie to feel like it's actually like trying to say something. Like it's not just like the first movie feels like we had a really fucking cool idea and made it a thing. And then the other like 2 through 4 feel like, okay, it worked the first time. What else can we do with it? I feel like in 5, you do kind of get some of that sense of like, hey, let's try to live the best lives we can. Like Olivia's like, okay, like it's time for me to try to get LASIK. Maybe that'll make my life better. It doesn't. You have Candace being pressured to try to move on with her life and, end up ending it. You have Sam saying, okay, I'm going to go do that thing. Like, I'm going to go take that job and I want you to come with me, and it caused both of them to die. So I guess there's something ironic about like, hey, make the most of the time you have, but it's going to kill you. But Bloodlines really does feel like it is a movie about not wasting your life being afraid. Don't be afraid of death. Don't be afraid of all the hundreds of ways the situation can go wrong. Just try to live your life the best you can. You are not in control of so many things. It is not worth worrying about. I really, really like that. But, so it confirms Kimmy is alive, which is good. They don't confirm Burke, but it says that Kimmy broke the chain, so I assume that means Burke didn't get targeted. But again, it's like, well, she broke the chain. They shouldn't have say Brian too, because he's alive because of her premonition, because that's kind of what Iris's premonition, like all those people she survived, all those people she saved, a lot of them had families, and it's not that new life beats death anymore. It's, well, shit, these people shouldn't have been alive. If I kill the parents, I gotta go down the list. So if, those lives that shouldn't existed are extensions of a list, Brian is an extension of Kimmy's, of the list from the pile-up. You see my problem. Other problem with the way it works in this movie. So, Iris's husband, I don't remember his name, so I'm just going to call him husband. No, it's like Paul, isn't it? I think so. I'm going to call him Paul. Paul dies in the vision before Iris. So, I said this. Okay. Paul and Iris had 2 kids, Howard and Darlene. Iris was pregnant with Howard during the premonition. Paul dies before Iris and Howard in the premonition. Okay. With the logic of this, new life does not beat death. If someone who survives saves other people, I'm assuming, but also if they have kids, those kids are now part of the list. Cool. Shitty, but cool. Why does death wait to go for Iris's descendants after killing Iris when Paul was before her on the list? Because they're Paul's descendants too. Meaning, when Paul died, death should have then gone, okay, let me check and cross off everyone on Paul's list. Then keep going, and then, when it gets to Iris, kill Iris. Because she's pregnant with Howard, Howard's part of the premonition. So you kill Iris, then you kill Howard, then you go down Howard's line. Because I feel like it should have been Paul, Darlene, Stephanie, and Charlie, which would have been way before the movie started. So it doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, wait, if this is the logic we're doing, I think there's already a problem here. Because, like, yeah, why... I understand why it would skip Howard's line, because it's just not his time yet. But Darlene should have never existed because of... Like, do you see what I mean? And you also see what I mean. I think way too much about this. But it's a series that emphasizes its rules and its lore so much. You kind of have to, even when it doesn't make any sense. Which is why I'm like, this is the one movie to, like... feels like it's about something. It's my favorite. But then I also go... okay, there's just a lot of shit in terms of the rules that don't work. So I maybe take it down a little bit. But I really do like some of its characters a lot. So I gotta put it back up. I'm like, alright, but look at the deaths. Okay, Iris with like the weather vane going through her face. Like, okay, that's pretty good. I don't know if it's like a top tier one, but like, I like it. Howard's... okay, that was pretty dumb. Like, the glass through the foot, I think is great. Like, all the shit with the shard is great, but the random bullshit, like, turning on the lawnmower and just going flying, I'm like, okay, this is dumb. Like, the build-up to Stephanie and how they're... excuse me, to Julia and Stephanie seeing all the signs, good shit, really liked it. And then the actual, like, crushing, like, it's good, but I don't know. Like, I thought it was okay by the end of it. So, Eric... so I have to shout out the tattoo parlor scene because I fucking love it. And like I said in my video, I'm like, so did Death target him and then realize, oh shit, he's not actually Howard's kid, so he gets to live? Like, Death kind of made a mistake. Is it Death targeted him, not to kill him, but just to fuck with him? Kind of like he was doing with Alex in the other movie. It's like, I'm giving you a warning, kid. I could kill you if I wanted to. I just don't want to right now. Don't make me want to. Eric then makes Death want to. Like, I warned you. Or is it literally just a random accident? I don't know. And I think any of them are kind of interesting and kind of funny in their own ways. Either Death made a genuine boo-boo, Eric fucked up his, like, you get one, and he fucked it up, or no, this was just a random accident. I don't know. I kind of like them all. The MRI machine. Just his piercings, because the magnet is so strong, getting ripped out of his body, like from the ears and the nose and then like the nipple rings. Like, oh gosh, that all looks so painful, and I hate it. And then you see his pants start bulging, like, oh no, not there. And then he just goes flying into the machine. You just hear him screaming because you know what's going on down there. And then the wheelchair goes flying and he gets crushed and his body's getting fucked up. Like, oh, man. This is one of the most... and to be fair, this was, in a sense, like the first movie I really saw all the way through. I'm like, man, this has got to be one of the most painful looking ones of the whole series. And watching them all, it kind of is. And I think Olivia getting her eye slashed is up there, but I think this is the worst one. Like 10 out of 10, no notes, but I don't like it. And then Bobby going right after, it's just tragic. And like I said, if it wasn't for Eric trying to save him, Bobby wouldn't have been in that room. The MRI machine would have got super powered up. That specific spring on like the vending machine wouldn't have been out of place. It's Eric's desperation to save his brother that got his brother killed. Damn, that's tragic. Darlene getting spiked, like, I'm gonna stay alive as long as I... Like, this one feels like it's just a joke. And I don't... it's kind of funny, but I don't know. It just didn't super, like, work with me. And then Stephanie and Charlie at the end, I'm like, okay. It is from a log truck. And number one, that's like the most iconic thing in the series. So I give them credit for that. 2, we saw it a little bit ago, so there was some foreshadowing. I gotta give credit for that. And 3, it's because they tried to pull a Kimmy who was gonna die because of the log truck, and it didn't work, so Death's like, I got something for you. Like, I kind of like that. But just the way the train gets and like the fact that it's by the same penny, like, I like it, but it also looks so, like, really? But you can almost... What I kind of like about it is you can feel Death's excitement. Like, I get to finish this dang list. I've been going down it for decades. I am almost done. And then, you sons of bitches, you... tried to save your brother. He tried to get him off my list, and I am not gonna let that fucking happen. No, I'm not. You tried to go back to this stupid cabin that has kept Iris alive for years. I'm not gonna let you get to that fucking cabin. And then you tried to break my list the same way that she did. I'm still mad about that, by the way, but it's okay, because you didn't pull it off. So I get to finish this the way it was supposed to start, with this stupid Patty. Like, I can just feel it. Like, he's so angry and sadistic and excited at the same time. And, like, as the credits are rolling and you see, like, the penny just rolling as Shout is playing, you see all, like, the newspaper clippings. It's like, okay, these are all the people who survived the Skyview and them getting killed off. You can almost, like, feel Death just, like, dancing the can because he's just so happy. Like, it's done. I finally did it. And it's kind of hilarious. So... I think the deaths in Bloodlines are generally, like, fine. Like, they're not a lot of my favorites, but I think they work. But I think the tone of the film is great. I think thematically the film is great. I think it's some of the best characters. I kind of love the characterization of Death, even though you never see him. And it has the Tony Todd moment. So I'm like, this has got to be my favorite, right? Well, I don't necessarily love the black comedy deaths by the end. I think the deaths as a whole aren't as good. And I think some of the rules don't super make sense. And that's why it was like with 1 and 5. I'm like, they're top 3 for sure, maybe my favorite. Because it's 1, 5, and Bloodlines are my 3 favorites. I'm just not a hundo on where I would officially rank them. But, that's it. Boy, this was almost an hour and a half of me talking about this series. Yeah, this did end up being a long video. But if you did watch it, you stayed through, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'm curious, like, what are some of your favorites? Either in terms of the premonitions, of individual deaths, like, what's your favorite movie? Am I just getting some of the rules wrong when I'm thinking about them too hard? Or like, no, there are some genuine plot holes. Like, who really cares? Clearly I do. But I think I'm just going to end it there. I'll see you in you're kind of like the late great Tony Todd said, enjoy your life, enjoy and make the best of every moment that you have.